Okay, fine. So next we were talking about clustering, about k-means clustering and hierarchical clustering. So k-means, I think where it's all k-means is nothing but if you know what is the cluster size that you want to form. Say for an example, if I know that I have to form an n cluster size of 3, there I can define my nodes, like how many clusters should how many clusters that I need to form. I can define in my k-means clustering. So that's the purpose of k-means clustering. So k-means just clustering. I think I told you how the process would happen. Okay. Sanal, you asked a question. While calculating linear regression, do we have to pass value for even inside values with while calculating the predict? Yeah, obviously. For an example, in linear regression, if I want to predict the next week sales, okay, in order to predict the next week sales, I need to tell what could be your promotion and what would be your price and what would be your future temperature. So only if all those parameters are available and if all your X variables are known for your future, only then you can predict. Okay, because that's the purpose of this particular linear regression. Because linear regression is a model which is based on all the X parameters. So even for future, if you want to predict your future Y value, you need to know what are all the future X that you're going to do. Okay. So in that case, if you don't have factors to represent it, then why only then time series comes into the picture. So that's what we're going to see today. What is time series? Because time series does not require any factors to be represented. Okay. Clear, Sana? Okay. Great. I said like k-means clustering, and in k-means clustering, as I said, you would know what is the cluster size that you want to form. Initially, if you're trying to form 3 clusters, your cluster seeds would be 3. It would select 3 random seeds. Based on the distance, it tries to group all this data points, and it will form the cluster. So this iteration would happen until none of your data points move into the other cluster. So this process happened. And if you're looking at hierarchical clustering is also a process where, based on the minimal distance, it tries to club together. So hierarchical is something from a big cluster you're trying to categorize into 2 different clusters. So if the distance are more, those data points are separated and an individual cluster is formed. So this happens until it is divisive. So at some point of time, it cannot be divided further. So it stops at that particular point. That's called hierarchical clustering. So probably what we'll do is today we'll just start with time series, and tomorrow I'll get into a case study where we'll try to solve all the clustering techniques and time series as well together. Okay, fine. So we'll start with time series, because in clustering I think I didn't give any example for hierarchy clustering. So I'll show you some of the examples in hierarchy clustering first. Then I think we can start with the process. Meanwhile, I'll just check what sort of data I have. Probably right now I'll just try to take this data set and I'll tell you how hierarchical clustering is done. Okay, so this is the data set that I'm going to take. I'll show you how a small example in hierarchical clustering, and tomorrow I'll take a big data set, because for hierarchical clustering I think these data sets are small and there is no real-time data set which is available in our LMS. So what I'll do is I'll take some business case studies which I have. Right now I'll just show you one small example in hierarchical clustering, and then on we'll get into the time series part. So what is time series analysis, where it is being applied. So first I'll just take this particular data set. Okay, I'll just view this particular data set. Okay, this is the data set that I have. So probably if you're looking at this particular data set, I have a field called country. There are different countries, and there are some of the data which is being given as area, GDP, inflation, life expectancy, military, population growth, and unemployment. So these are all like quantitative variables for this particular country. So there are different countries, and we'll try to see how we can group all these countries, and what are all the countries which is having similar properties. Say some of the countries would have similar properties, like their area would be same and their inflation rate would be almost same. So we'll try to see how this hierarchical algorithm, like hierarchical clustering algorithm, how it works in this particular data set. That's what we're going to look here. We'll try to see this particular process in terms of R. So in order to do k-means, what is the function that we use? When we're looking at the k-means example, what is the function to calculate k-means clustering? What is the function to use k-means clustering? The function is nothing but k-means. So k-means, if you are giving a data set, then automatically k-means clustering can be done. In the same way, if you want to do a hierarchical clustering, the function is, I'll create a variable. This is the function to calculate your hierarchical clustering, and I'm going to calculate based on the distance. Okay, I'm going to type distance, and I'm going to take the data set as Europe. When I run this code, now I would get an error. I'll tell you the reason. Because in my particular data set, I have the first column as my categorical variable. So I have to remove this first column because the first column contains all the country names. So this cannot be done in terms of a clustering. So what I'll do is I'll just remove the first column countries. Okay. Then I'll do the process. Okay. In this Europe, I'll just remove the first column. So this is a function. Okay, what is the difference between these two types of clustering? So in terms of k-means clustering, if you know the cluster size that you need to form, for an example, if you know, if I need to form only 3 clusters, there you have an option of defining your cluster numbers. That's the advantage of k-means clustering. But when coming into hierarchical clustering, you're automatically, your algorithm automatically tries to split your data points until it can get deviated. Okay, so what is the maximum limit that it can divide? It can do the process. So here you cannot tell that only 3 clusters I need to form or 4 clusters I need to form. That you cannot tell in hierarchical clustering. So hierarchical clustering is actually having a divisive property. So from an entire cluster, it try to divide. It will try to split based on the distance. So if the distance is large, it again splits. So these particular things, it keeps on going. So at the end of the day, you cannot find how many clusters that you want. But after finding a hierarchical cluster, you can just see what are all the countries which is falling in a separate group. After doing a complete hierarchy, after that you can define what are all the clusters that you are going to take. Okay. Okay. In a process of clustering, you can never use a categorical variable. Okay. Only numerical variable. So only with numerical variable you can calculate those distances. So even if you're coming, if you're taking a categorical variable and if you're coming, if you're converting as a dummy variable, that will not make any sense because even in that particular case, clustering is not that effective. Okay, so in those sort of situations, generally people will not do a clustering. They'll go for a decision tree, and I think decision tree is not given in our curriculum. But somehow, if I get time, I'll also talk about decision trees as well. Okay, so I think at least if I'm not able to cover the entire syllabus, I'll at least try to give a hint about decision tree and how that particular approach is done. Okay. So there in decision tree, what you'll do is you can define your final dependent variable as a category, and you can see what are all the parameters which is causing to reach the end result. That's what is all about decision tree. So now in this hierarchical clustering, I am just removing the first column. Now my clustering is being done. Now I'll try to plot the cluster. Now, if you're looking at the hierarchical clustering is being formed, but I think it is a bit difficult to understand for what. So what I'll do is instead of these labels, I'll give my country. So how these countries are being divided. So I'm just going to add a label here to my plot. So in this plot, I'm going to give my labels. Now, if I include a label to my clustering that I had made, now I can see how these countries are being clubbed together. So if you're looking at all these countries would have same properties, but in terms of k-means clustering, if you know the clustering size k is equal to 3 or something, only 3 clusters would be formed. But right now in hierarchical clustering based on the distances, so now if you're looking at Spain and Sweden are having almost equal properties, and Ukraine is something different, and in this particular cluster, for an example, in the entire cluster that is being formed, if I want to form 5 clusters, okay, if I want to form 5 clusters, how that process can happen. So after doing an entire clustering form, if you want to split this hierarchies into 2 or into 3 or into 4, that process is actually very easy to do. So I'll tell you how that can be done. So there is an option called rectangular.hclust. So that would give you how this clustering can be formed very easily. So for an example, if I type rect.hclust, if I want to form, say if I want to form in this entire cluster which is formed, if I want to form only 5 clusters, I can just give here 5. Now if I run this code, now I can see how the 5 clusters are formed. So Ukraine is something which is different, which is having the extreme distance. So these points are having closer distance when comparing to these clusters. So this is how the clusters can be divided. Now we can tell if I need to form 5 clusters, okay, Bulgaria, Greece, Austria, Ireland, and everything is falling in a particular cluster. So this is how you can just go ahead with this particular process. Okay, and if you want to change the cluster numbers, like say now after forming the entire cluster, if I want to form only 4 clusters, that is also easy. So first I'll run the script. Okay, now if I want to form, last time I formed 5 clusters. If I want to form only 3 clusters, okay, now I can see based on this distance, now I can see, okay, these are all the clusters which is having closer properties, and this is binded together and formed as a particular cluster, and this is the second and this is the third. This is how your hierarchical clustering works. So hierarchical clustering would divide into all the possible divisive. So till the point it reaches 1, it tries to divide. So this is also called as divisive algorithm. So based on the distance, again it splits. So if this distance are close together, first there would be a big cluster. Based on the distance, it split into 2 clusters, and this two again it will have a branch. So this keeps on going until every particular country will have a single node until the leaf node becomes 1. This process happens, and after that you can form a cluster, okay, based on the distances. Okay, clear everyone? And if you want to know how this particular clustering validation is done, I think for that particular I'll take some other example in terms of a business case, because here latitude, longitude, and GDP, this numeric thing will not give you a good business insight. But when coming into a business insight, what I'll do is I'll show you some of the data set. I'll take 100 stores which has different properties. Say one store would have higher sales and product mix is something different and price sensitivity. So I'll create a table in such a way that it has different properties. So based on that particular dataset, we'll see how the validation happens. So for an example, if I'm going to include a new member into the cluster, to which cluster does this particular member belong? Okay. So those sort of situations, I think tomorrow I'll show you an example how those process would happen. Okay. The last 2 hours, when I take a real-time example, I can tell you how this particular cluster is validated. Okay. Okay. Sanjay, you asked me a question. What is the difference between k-means and hierarchical clustering? Okay. So when I do a process of k-means clustering, so I think I'll do the same here in k-means. I'll show you. For an example, I'll take this data set. What is the function of k-means? So k-means is nothing but this is a function. Instead of hclust, you need to do k-means, and I'll take this same example. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to form 3 clusters here. Okay. Now if I see how different countries are split into 3 clusters, this is the way it's splitted, and these are all the cluster mean. So for the first cluster, Now you can tell that, okay, my first cluster would have a average area of 381757 and GDP of 32566. Okay, and inflation on in all these parameters are being given. So based on this, the clusters are formed. Right now, my cluster size, if you're looking at my total count is 28. There are 28 countries. These 28 countries I have split it into three different clusters. Now I can see this is the purpose of K-means. So whatever cluster size that I define, I can form that number of clusters. So if you are very sure that, okay, your end result should contain only 4 cluster or 5 cluster, then you can go ahead with k-means clustering. But you're not very sure that how many clusters to be formed. For an example, when you do a k-means clustering, just assume that the two clusters, right now it is very small, but assume that in case of a large number of data, you form a k-means clustering with cluster size of 3. In one cluster you found 100 variables, in second cluster you found 100 variables, and in the third cluster you found 900 variables. Okay, so totally I have 1000 as my data point. So one cluster had 100, the second cluster had 100, third cluster had 900. Okay, this three, but with this three cluster, I cannot have any clear business decisions, right? For an example, in my third cluster, there are almost 900 stores. So I don't know how my 900 store is going to behave in my third cluster. So again, what I have to do is again the third cluster. Again, I have to do a k-means or I have to do a hierarchical to split that in a further way, right? But when I do a hierarchical clustering directly, I can see how these branches are formed and how the distance are being equidistant. So how it is being easily divided. That's the whole purpose of k-means and hierarchical. So k-means, you can define your cluster number. So if you want only 3, you can just define 3. But you cannot have any equal distributions there. Okay. So if you know very sure that this is the cluster size that I'm going to make, then you can define k-means clustering. And if you're not very sure about the cluster size that you're going to form, then you can go ahead with hierarchical clustering. Okay. Clear? Okay, why I had given Europe -1. So my first column is actually country. So if I display Europe, I can see country as my category. So the first column is country. That's why I had removed my first column. So the option to remove first column is Europe. If I remove -1, I can see my first column, which is country, is being removed. Okay, that's why I did this particular process. Okay, in this case, do we have to look at if the data is normally distributed or not? It is not necessary, because even if you have an outlier, for an example, can you just tell me in what sort of situations you can do a clustering? So simply I did a cluster. So what are all the advantages of doing a cluster? Okay, we need to know how elements in dataset behaves. Yeah, that is one thing, and how your datasets are associated. So what are all the properties which is binding all those data points together? That is one thing. And the other thing is, for an example, even I can think this cluster could tell me what is an outlier, right? For an example, if I have some outliers in my dataset, even this clustering technique can tell me what are all the outliers and what are all the stores which is behaving in an odd way, or what are all the parameters which is behaving in an extreme level. Even that I can do here, right? Because clustering is nothing but if your distance is more, again it will follow a separate cluster. So based on this, I can also find what are all my outliers, right? Easily I can also do a outlier process using clustering. So if I want to see, okay, if I have everyday sales, or I think that, okay, I have 1000 stores. In 1000 stores, 1 or 2 stores would have extreme sales. So according to us, that cannot be an outlier, but that is actually an extreme action which is happening. So in order to do or in order to predict that sort of unexpected behaviors, even you can use this clustering to find that, because everything is all about distance, right? So clustering is nothing but a simple logic where you're calculating the distance between 2 points. If it has minimum distance, then they are binded together and they are formed in a single cluster. If the distance is more, they can fall in different clusters. Okay, that's the whole point of clustering. So cluster validation and all these things, I think with the small data set we cannot work on this validation part. What is the practical use? Okay, practical use in the sense, generally why we do clustering is, in some of the cases, generally client would have a doubt. Okay, I'm going to take certain decisions. So for an example, if I am going to take a promotional decision, okay, I'm going to implement some promotion. What are all the stores should I do a promotion, and in what are all the stores should I not do a promotion? If I do a promotion, what is the promotion level that I can do? For an example, if you consider Bangalore, like there are some places where people are not that effective towards price. Even if you are making a promotion there, it is like actually like a normal sales would happen because people would not vary. Okay, so those people are like high standard people. So what they'll do is even if it is promotional day or non-promotional day, for them actually that is something normal. So whenever a company is going to take a promotional decision, right, they would always think where should I implement this particular idea. For an example, if I'm going to give a 30% off on a particular product, should I give 30% off on a particular product for every store that I have or for a particular store that I have? So they should take all these decisions. So all this decision we could suggest them based on this clustering behavior. So some of the cluster, if you are looking at, you can just see the product is going down. The reason can be because of high price. So in those sort of clusters alone, you can take some of your decisions in changing your business in a better way. Okay, or as a or as another example, if you want to launch a new product, so in order to launch a new product, I need to know what are all the stores that is performing well, which could readily accept an innovation product or which can readily accept a new product. So those sort of stores I need to pick up, right? So those things you can do in terms of a clustering. And some people also will try to see how the in terms of store segmentation, generally people would look clustering in terms of a store segmentation or a product segmentation, and even for a outlier detection also sometimes people would use clustering. So these are all the practical examples. Generally people would do all this process. Okay. Naresh, you asked a question, what are all the other clustering algorithms available and which one is the best? For example, is there any algorithm which would be effective? Okay. So generally, if you're looking at clustering algorithm, there are different clustering algorithms like k-means. K-means and hierarchical are the most popular clustering algorithm that which is followed from the traditional day till this point. Generally, people would do a k-means clustering and hierarchical clustering. And apart from that, like something like DB scan is there, and these are all the most probably generally people would go with only these three algorithms. So apart from that, the way the distance are calculated can be different. So the only metrics that they would do is they'll try to optimize their distance level. So first they'll try to club all the shorter distance, or they can club the equidistance part. Only the distance metrics that they choose would be different. Okay, but the clustering algorithm, even if you're looking at some of the clustering algorithm, only the distance metrics that they're calculating would be different. So initially they'll try to form a big cluster. From then they'll start to divide. Or some people what they'll do is they'll start from a small cluster. They'll try to club it. So in an either way, it can be divisive or an agglomerative. So that's the 2 point that they'll do. Only the distance metrics calculations would differ. So some people what they'll do is they'll try to calculate the error terms from one point to the other point. If the error term is less, again that is a matrix to calculate the distance, right? If the error is large, then the distance is large. So some people would use error, or some people would find the distance. So only the distance metrics would be differing in all the algorithms. Okay, and it depends. So when you are doing a k-means and hierarchical, because that depends on the business situations. Because if you have a fixed number of clusters to be formed, say, then in that case definitely k-means would work better. So this is also like you cannot decide with clustering. So clustering is actually an iterative process. Which you cannot fix. I can do. For an example, to fix your cluster size itself is actually an iterative process. For an example, sometimes you would fix, okay, I want to form 10 cluster, but after forming 10 cluster, if you're not able to find any insight, again what you'll do, you'll try to increase your cluster size. So that depends on the business case. So definitely, generally people, if you're asking me a question, what is the optimal cluster size? No one can give you an optimal cluster size. According to formula, people would tell, okay, root of n plus 1 by 2. But actually, in a real-time way, that will not work out. So in order to form your optimal cluster size, you have to undergo many iterations. So generally, people cannot tell that this is the cluster size that I want. You got my point, right? Because if I fix that my cluster size should be 5, and after making a cluster, if I am not able to find any insight, then what I'll do again, I have to change the iteration. So I have to change the cluster size. So this cluster size is something you would be doing until you get a business insight. So until you are not able to find an insight, this keeps on iterating. Okay. This is clustering is all about understanding your business, right? Because to understand your business, you have to fix how many clusters that you need to form. So for an example, as I told you, I form 3 clusters where in one cluster I have 100 stores, second cluster I have 100 stores, third cluster I have 900 stores. Okay, in that 900 I cannot get any business insight. So what I can do is I can take only the third cluster. Again, I can try to split it to get better insight. This is how generally clustering would go ahead.